Man United are going to finish second, or they're going to finish in the top four, so they don't have many meaning on the games that they're playing right now. So I look at their results and say, well, what precisely are we talking about? You know, they've drawn with Leeds. Everyone loves Leeds and thinks they're wonderful. They've beaten Burnley. They've beaten Roma 6-2. They've beaten Aston Villa. They got beat by Leicester. They got beat by Liverpool. Okay, these are two games that we're looking at. But ultimately, Man United are in decent nick. You know, these games don't provide much inspiration and motivation for them. The business end of the season is probably Villarreal now. So I wouldn't take anything from these games and say, oh, hold on a second, this is going to be something that they're not going to turn up in. I mean, there's a part of me that hopes they don't turn up in the Europa final, because I want to be right in the observation that he doesn't win anything this season. But I don't suspect I will.
You've lost that battle now, haven't you?
I think I have, yeah. I think I started on very solid ground that they won't ever catch Klopp and Guardiola and win the league, which and they won't win very much, which I started with, and then I moved it a little bit, the dial up a little bit, and ratcheted it up so they'll win nothing.
No,
right? And that's where I'm going to get caught.
This is a moment in time, is it not? Wednesday, May the 19th at 10:23. You took your dog out of that particular fight.
I can't be King Canute and command the sea to go back. They'll win. They'll win the pub league, the Europa League.
Look at me.
That's harsh.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer then is the right man at this time in the history of Manchester United to be the man at the top leading the club forward, correct?
No, I don't think so. I think he maintains the same position I've always maintained. Listen, he's not a useless football manager, but he's not an elite one. And if you give somebody the best tools, there's a possibility they're going to be able to get it right if you give them enough time to a certain level. If getting it right is winning a B-rate European tournament and
which Chelsea won with them.
Which Chelsea won with them, yeah, absolutely. But
you said that was great.
I didn't say it was great.
Yes, you did. You said Mourinho won things when he was at United.
I never said it was great. I said when people talked about Mourinho's tenure at Man United, you have to compare and contrast. If you're going to say it was all dark and bad and poor at the end, you also have to compare and contrast when it wasn't. Okay, so that was the analysis of that particular scenario.
Oh, was it?
But Man United were built. I thought Man United were built to be elite. And if elite means winning the Europa League, finishing second in a slightly conflicted league where lots of teams have fallen away, then okay, that's elite.
He can't do it overnight.
It's 3 years, Jim.
Van Gaal won the FA Cup.
It's 3 years. If you have 3 years to build a radio show, and after 3 years it's still pretty mediocre, you ain't going to be in a job.
Don't say that too loud.
But my point is that he has... Man United, of course, they're better. The spirit that he picked up when he walked into that club was a broken spirit that Mourinho had been in part contributing and amputated the outlooks of certain people like Pogba and so on and so forth. He's pulled it together. He's been given support. He got Maguire when Mourinho couldn't get him. Ultimately, the board backed him to buy Maguire. He's gone out and bought players like Bruno Fernandes that have massively improved Man United. You take Bruno Fernandes out of the mix and say, well, how much have Man United improved if you didn't have Bruno Fernandes? And you'd argue that perhaps there's a margin of improvement there. You'd argue that Pogba's back on side and producing more regularly than he did for previous managers. But you still look at the same problems that are there. Rashford doesn't score enough goals. Martial's in and out. Defensively, they're not as solid as they should be.
Right.
So
to break it down a little bit, though, in terms of...
It's a B+. Comparing
and contrasting. It's a B+ report. Which is one of your favourite phrases, absolutely. And I love it.
It's one that suits me, yeah.
You would no longer be in a situation whereby you would be, this morning, instructing Ole to get his coat.
You are such a saucy sod, because
to get his coat.
You frame a question in a certain way, right? You say, what would you do if you were Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I said, what would I do? You should ask me what would I do if I was the owner. If I was the owner, I'd say, get your coat.
It's one of your most famous quotes.
I'd
be saying to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, get your coat.
And it was in the context of they'd just gotten beaten by a side when he hadn't made a substitution. I forget the game was. He hadn't taken Fred off or done something that he should have done. Everyone was going, geez Louise, this guy doesn't know whether to stick or twist. And you asked me at that moment, what would you do if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I said, why don't you ask me what would I do if I was Ed Woodward? I'd tell him to get his coat. There's the context to it.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go. So he's come round to, let's just take it, the Sam's come round to Ole being in charge of the club.
On his report.
B+.
I think Ole's done well. I think obviously the togetherness is a big thing at Manchester United. When he walked in after Mourinho, there was a lot of problems at the football club between players wanting to leave. I think he's really consolidated the club. But I think, for me, I disagree slightly with these last few games don't mean anything, because I think going into that final against Villarreal, you want to continue with that winning culture and that winning mentality.
True. I agree.
And I think what's gone on in this last week or two is harmful. Now, he's already come out, Ole, and said that the fans protesting has got a little bit to do with that and it's affected the players. But still, them players are under your jurisdiction. Them players are under your mentorship.
If you were a player, would the fans' protest get to you?
It wouldn't, no.
No,
it wouldn't. But what I'm saying is, they've got a game against Wolves on Sunday. if they don't win that game, going in off the back of the results that they've just had, I think that could play a negative part for Manchester United, and they need to stop that. And actually, Simon, listen, I'm a fan of Ole. I think he's done very well. But there's a lot of fans that I speak to, Manchester United fans, that are similar to Simon. They have the similar view that Ole is not the man for the job.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.